I met this company approximately 12 years ago. There were just two of them, and then they grew from 2 people to 150, 120 people there now. And then the first time I met them, we were trying to test this technology on traceability on a jewelry with the metal, and it was kind of difficult to know how actually you can trace a metal to this technology. But since there, they've been growing so much because they've been implementing step by step in the value chain the technology to understand where the products come from. How do you can actually really managing the entire traceability, transparency on the supply chain. So they've been working with multiple luxury brands around the world. I mean, I can mention like 40 of them. Guido is their innovation director, CMO, and a friend of mine. Thank you so much for being come here on the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefano. And I'm glad to be here. And I want to say thanks also to Marisa, because thanks to her wonderful presentation, now half of mine is completely unuseful. So I save half of the time, but the remaining part is more and more interesting because she had already introduced the context. And it's really interesting that she is so passionate, enthusiastic regarding the changing, the sustainability, the environment, because it's not so standard that a CEO of a company like North Sales, sorry, is not driven by numbers, by ROI, by these mathematic behaviors that drive the business. No, so this is really interesting because it's the first slide that I can comment after this slide that is done by Marisa, and also the following. Okay, also the following. Okay, here, thank you. Okay, so the context. The context, as already said, is changing because now the awareness is increased by the consumer, but also by the brands, because some years ago, the 30, 40, 50 brands we are working with, and that are brands from fashion, luxury, sportswear, fashion, didn't have a ESG manager or a head of sustainability. But now, since 2 or 3 years ago, all of them have one of these sustainability manager with different, let me say, dresses, but we are discussing the traceability process. So, based on this context, now more, let me say, easy to contact talking about traceability with the goal of the sustainability. We are working on a new model. And so going to the following slide, now our pledge, following the new rules of the European Commission, we are working with the Bocconi SDA. It's a university, one of the most important in Italy, and we are a pool of companies that are managing the different phases of the production. So we are in the pool of the integrators, but are also involved in this chain the producers, the brands, and the product providers. Okay, so the brands that provide just the raw material. And with all these components, we are defining a new value chain that starts from the eco-design, so starting from the prototyping of the product, following the right rules in order to choose the right design, but also the right products in the right season, for the right market in the right part of the world, and following the raw material sourcing, manufacturing of semi-finished products, manufacturing of finished product, so the brands, the green logistics, that it's one of the most important themes for the moment, that it's integrated with the distribution and the wholesale and retail and detailing. Here there is another good player, that is the OMS provider, because now omnichannel, it's a law for these brands that have to manage the brick and mortar, but also the e-commerce, but also the e-tailer, the warehouse, and so as less movements they can do, as less environmental impact they have. So they can sell better, but also better talking about the environmental impact, okay? And the end-of-life services like recycling, reusing, and regeneration of the item, because now there is another law, a European law, already adopted, by the France and Italy, that for the brands now there is the obligation to reintroduce in the production process all the end-of-life products. So all the products that came back to the main warehouse have to be disassembled and managed again. Okay, so next slide, please. Thank you. So as a company participating to this monitor, we are trying to follow and to reach these goals that are focused on gather the information, so between the different stakeholders, so we can help the brands to be more digitalized, more traced, and also the brand can help us to refine and optimize our solution for the fashion processes, and improving the circularity and sustainability of value chains, and especially adopting some indicators that can define how is the impact of specific products, but also specific brands, okay? Go, please. Okay, so what's our vision behind the solution that we are trying to provide to the brands? The traceability to achieve sustainability, because traceability represents the abilities of the company to track, report, and follow the journey of materials. And so how can support the traceability, the sustainability? Providing the source for the information displayed to the final customer, but also providing this information for the brand, because the brand has to communicate this information, so how much is sustainable or not a product, to the final customer. But if they don't trace all the different phases, so the providing of the raw material, the production, the logistics, they cannot say in a transparent way, maybe using blockchain or some other way of authentication processes, they cannot do it. And okay, so with the traceability, we want to help the company to achieve more efficiency, more resilience, more responsiveness, and more transparency. Okay. These are the 4 circles that explain the whole supply chain of a brand. So from the sourcing of the raw material, passing through the manufacturing, the logistic phase, and the customer experience, engagement, and second-hand market or return in the main warehouse. Go, please. Okay, so this is a list of a customer, not to celebrate with we are working, but just to explain what I said before. So neither one of these brands had a sustainability manager. But now the sustainability manager or the ESG manager is the main people with we are talking regarding traceability issues. Okay? And so, yeah.
Why 15 years, 10 years ago there were no one sustainability, but somehow were interested in supply chain? What's the difference between 10 years and now? In the vision of the company, right? Because supply chain was always important, right? But what's something changed?
Yeah, I think that the main goal was, but please, Marisa, correct me if, if I'm wrong. Before, the main driver was the optimization of the economic performance. I mean, our main habilitator is the chip, is the RFID chip that we put inside the garments. And through the RFID chip, we can move, read, and check massively boxes and pallets of garments. So the main goal for the brands was to optimize the different phases in store for the inventory or other phases, but also for the warehousing. Now that the management of this company is driven by sustainability issue, also because also for financial purposes, they wanna meet some goals and reach new customer, reach a new, not more a niche of market, but a big part of the market. The sustainability and the impact of the production is one of the main goals that they have to manage.
I think this is quite important. I mean, technology have been there since many years already. So the point is, before there were no one talking about sustainability, there was no one customer really cared about that. So the same company, the same time, they shift the services. Because now, thanks also sustainability as a business, if we have the company to save money, to save costs,
Yeah, yeah.
and to go faster, actually we're also producing less impact on the planet. So if we mix value with technology, we can achieve this at a larger scale. And this is why now your goal is much more important than before also.
Yeah, we added some modules, so technically speaking, that are tracking the raw materials. That was completely not a focus until 5 or 3 years ago, because they have a connection with the different providers. For example, the alpaca or cashmere providers, the farmers for the different kind of leathers, etc. They had just some traces, but they didn't know and they didn't want to manage exactly which was the exact farmer that was producing that kind of product. Now they want to track correctly each kind of product and each lot of product. So they want to pair a specific lot of product with all the items that they will produce. So when they bring on the market the final product, so a shirt or something similar, they can say to the customer, okay, that cotton was from that specific field in that specific part of the world. And tracking all the different movements, they can track the environmental impact based on the culture, based on the chemical elaboration, and also on the transportation, because as Marisa said before, now the production of the fashion market is the second most impactful industry on the environment. And so this is just a quick explanation of what we are doing. So we have a layer with some products that put in contact the digital world with the physical world. So we track all the phases, starting from the raw material, passing to the product production, good production, supply chain, retail operation, sales, and recycle, and all this information are pairing with the final product. So all the different phases are managed by us or by other players that are integrating with us in order to give a full information. Please go to the next slide. So the digital passport of the product, of each product. And from here, it's also possible to talk about metaverse, but it's a long story. But just to explain you quickly, the idea behind our approach to the metaverse or digital world is to apply a specific serial number for each digital twin of each product. Because using the RFID instead of the QR code, barcode, SKU, etc., there is a serialization behind each product. So in this way, for each specific product, so 10 identical t-shirt can be managed as 10 different items. So if you buy a specific item in the real world, I can provide you the exact product also for the digital world, as ownership, I mean. And this is the final slide in which I explain a little bit better the process regarding the traceability for the raw material, the production, and the second end. So starting from the farm and breeding factories, We collect the information of the raw material, the certificates of the origin and provenience, who is the manufacturer. So for example, the made in, I come from Italy, and the made in Italy, it's one of the most important thing for some specific brand. The logistic part until the sales phase and the second-hand market, before to come back if it's not sold on the main warehouse. And here there is the specific process of the disassembly regarding the end of life of the product, that it's the last part of the solution that we have implemented, and it's related to the moment in which the brand receive again the end of life product, and the brand has to disassemble the different kind of products like bags, shoes, ready to wear, etc. So they can receive the item. After the tag reading, they can reach all the information regarding the previous life of the product and of all the components. So the leather, the metal, the cotton, etc. And they can apply to the different components that they put again inside the production process instead of their own production phase or selling to other producers, the information regarding the origins, the production, etc., etc., etc. Okay? If you have questions, thank you.